As a guy who grew up in the early 2000s, I spent a lot of my early childhood sitting in front of a CRT TV. I watched all kinds of stuff, usually from VHS tapes, the Land Before Time movies, Blue's Clues, tons of 2D animated Disney movies, some obscure religious kids animation.
I knew you would come, but you've come.
I have come.
And of course, I played tons and tons of Nintendo 64. I remember these times really fondly. There's something about sitting down to earnestly enjoy a meticulously detailed human-crafted artwork in its entirety that is harder to do now that the internet has lowered my attention span and given me cynical adult brain. Anyway, as time passed and CRTs became obsolete to most people, even I started to look down on them. I did keep an RCA TrueFlat TV in my room during my teenage years to play my Wii, but I only got that because it was super cheap at a thrift store. I eventually got rid of it as I did my first PC CRT monitor once I found LCD replacements. Rip to both of those displays. However, as I became an adult and I learned just how incredible and cool CRT tech is, how it still has benefits over LCD displays, and just how amazing one can look with the right setup and media, I had to get my hands on one again. Or I guess, multiple. I purchased and then sold many CRT displays over the years, eventually building my way up to the CRTs I have now, which are pretty much as good as I think I can ever pick up locally. These being my Dell Trinitron monitor, featured in my last video, my Trinitron Standard Def CRT, featured in the Xbox video, and perhaps the shining jewel of my collection, my Super Fine Pitch HD CRT, arguably the best CRT TV ever made. What makes this TV so sick? And what the hell is Super Fine Pitch? Let's find out. Hi, welcome back. I'm Seth. This is the Sony KD-30XS955, my personal holy grail HD CRT. I picked this up off of Facebook Marketplace like all of my other CRTs, but this one had a fun little extra story to it. I spent nearly a year with an eye on Facebook Marketplace looking for any super fine pitch TV. When I found this one, it was actually in another city, like 3 hours away. When the seller and I had finally settled on a time and place, I drove over to that city only to have the seller completely ghost me as soon as I got there. Thankfully, I had some friends living there, so I took the opportunity to visit them, but then I had to drive back very frustrated and completely empty-handed. The next day, the seller got back to me and apologized, but I wasn't about to make the drive over again, so I actually had my friends in that city pick up the TV for me and deliver it to me when they visited me. Given the weight and size of this thing, that was not an easy task, so thanks again, Ray, if you're watching. Anyway, let's get right into the specs. This is a 148-pound, 67-kilogram television with a 30-inch viewable screen. It's 16:9, features 3S video, 4 composite, 2 component, 1 RF, and 1 HDMI port. Yep, that's right, HDMI. It also, funnily enough, has a Sony memory stick port on the front and a cable card port on the back. It accepts 1080i, 720p, 480p, and 480i inputs, but only displays 1080i and 480p natively. Everything else is scaled in some way. And yes, everything is digitally processed, so there's a bit of added lag, I'll get to that. Finally, it has 2 7.5 watt speakers, a 15 watt subwoofer built in, uses 220 watts overall, and yes, features a super fine pitch Trinitron tube from Sony. So what's super fine pitch? In a nutshell, it basically means that this TV is significantly higher resolution than any other brand of HD CRT. Okay, I know what you're saying. Seth, don't you know that CRTs are analog and don't have pixels? Their resolution is only decided by their line count, and this one does 1080i just like every other HD CRT, so it can't be any different from them. Well, you're kinda right in regards to brightness resolution, not color resolution. From what I understand, with my admittedly limited knowledge, I'm not a CRT expert, just a hobbyist with a camera. Since CRTs are analog, the brightness resolution along their horizontal scan lines is, well, not infinite, but really high, since the brightness at any point on the line is variable and not limited by some distinct pixel count. This is not true for the colors. The color resolution of a CRT is limited by how many phosphor dots, or in the Trinitron's case, phosphor lines, there are displayed on the tube. On a super fine pitch tube, there are significantly more of those vertical red, green, and blue lines for it to work with, so the perceived resolution is much higher. Take it from someone who upgraded from a lower end high scan HD tube, this TV is significantly sharper than anything that I had before. Also, if you don't know what the hell I'm talking about and you want to learn more about how CRTs work, I highly recommend Technology Connections series on analog television. It's really good. Alright, so let's boot her up and see just how good she looks. I will say, my camera really doesn't do this TV justice. As far as I can tell, it just doesn't give me enough settings to be able to sync with the CRT's scan rate, so you might see some lines that aren't visible IRL. With that said, let's see what we can play that will both look good and not get me copy-striked. First, older 2D animated films look outstanding. The reason I actually started my Blu-ray collection was because I wanted to watch all of the Ghibli movies on Blu-ray on this TV. They look incredible, the perfect mix of modern HD resolution and that nostalgic CRT blur. Older 3D movies also look really good. I'm personally fond of the early Pixar films. Basically anything that's shot IRL looks great on this too. The slight blur that CRTs give to any image makes real-life footage look, I don't know, more realistic. It's pleasing to my eyes, whatever it is.
Oh, you're being aggressive again, kind of. The baby is so much healthier now. But check this out. Oh my gosh. Court gave birth again.
Finally, can't forget games. This TV was made for 7th gen game consoles like the PS3 and 360. They output 1080i natively, and generally speaking, games from this era were still designed to some degree with CRTs in mind. CRTs give a sort of natural anti-aliasing that helps hide the lower resolution many games from this era had, and combined with the very, very good motion clarity, just, man, it looks good. So yeah, it looks great, but is it really the best CRT ever made? Well, first, notice that the title said TV. I know there are superior monitors out there. Plenty of PVMs are like objectively better than this thing. But those were made for the professional space and not for consumers like TVs generally are. There are also other super fine pitch model TVs from Sony out there, but what I think makes this the best one is its combination of being the smallest, the lightest, and having HDMI. If you prefer a bigger screen, that's totally fine, more power to you. But having had to move this TV around multiple times, I think the trade-off of it being smaller and lighter is 100% worth the smaller screen. Plus, it's technically better DPI-wise too, or whatever concept is analogous to DPI for CRTs, since it's fitting the same number of lines in a smaller space. So yeah, I love this thing, and I hope to keep it for many more years to come. Like I've said before, this is actually my main bedroom TV, and I use it fairly often with a Roku and those game consoles. And don't worry, pretty much as soon as I got it, I was rummaging through the service menu tweaking things, trying to get the best picture possible. There's actually a setting in the service menu, HDPT, which turns off any unnecessary digital processing and passes 1080i or 480p images straight to the screen, removing any lag. But I don't have it turned on because when it is on, the overscan cuts off like a third of the screen no matter how much I adjust it. It's a bummer, but I'm not too miffed about it. As long as you pass a natively supported resolution, 1080i or 480p, the lag is really not bad. I don't notice it, at least. Maybe you Melee pros out there would care, but at that point, just get a cheap standard def CRT.
HD CRTs really are best for video media and any game source that can provide 1080i or 480p. For anything more retro than that, you probably want a standard def CRT for a more sharp and lag-free experience. There's a reason I also own a standard def CRT and have different things plugged into it.
Finally, last thing I want to talk about. I like to maintain and clean pretty much anything that I use regularly, so when I got this, I wanted to recap it. If you don't know what that means replacing all of the aging capacitors on the circuit board inside this TV. When they age, they can cause problems or make the image look worse, so it's good to replace them after a while. I've done it a couple times with previous TVs, but, well, let me open this thing up. Man, I don't remember there being this many screws holding the back in. Yeah, there's a ton of capacitors in there. I cannot hope to recap all of them. If anyone in the Central Texas area happens to be a CRT expert with a good reputation and is willing to recap and tune up this TV for me, let me know. I'd love to work out a deal. Anyway, with that said, I think I'm finally out of things to nerd out about on this TV. Thanks for watching. If you liked this show and tell video showing off the special TV from 22 years ago, consider liking, subscribing, or hyping. However you do that. I've got plenty more videos on retro technology similar to this one in the pipeline that you will probably like. Anyway, that's all for now. Have a good one.